Unfortunately, we seem to be living in a country that isn't quite as free as we would like it to be, as free as our founding fathers planned for us to be. It's pretty sad, you know. What do we call this place? The home of the brave and land of the free. Seems to be more like home of the slave and land of the entrapped. So let's break it.
Freedom ain't free. Let's make 'em pay.
Brought to you by UnkleSam Presents.
So let's break off those chains. All right. It's time to wake up and realize exactly what is going on. And I keep hearing, just turn on a microphone and talk and try to make a difference. Just put some more content out there so that people can see that it's not just certain groups of people or certain types of people that are noticing things. And if you are watching any type of media outside of those 3-letter mainstream, garbage heaps, then you may notice something strange is going on. So, like I said, welcome to Freedom Ain't Free. My name is Uncle Sam. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, especially like and subscribe. Starting something new, starting something different here. I usually do, my Bible lessons, things like that, but I think it's time to speak up. I'm going to try to keep up. Let's see what's going on in today's world, because it is supposed to be a celebration. There are aspects of this country that I absolutely adore and that I love and that I think that are amazing, one of a kind, Unfortunately, it seems that those people that we elect that are supposed to be our civil servants, it seems as if the roles have been reversed and we are supposed to honor, praise, and worship them, and they do not vote according to the way that their constituents would. You've got maybe one Republican and one Democrat. There's some more Democrats coming around, but they just voted out. They just bought out. I wouldn't even say voted out. They bought out the last honest Republican congressman. Yeah, you might have one in the Senate that's also doing okay. He's not his father, but he's still worth not giving up on. I'm talking about Rand Paul. And of course, the congressman, the House of Representative congressman that I'm talking about is none other than Thomas Massie. And that has been one of the biggest shames that I've ever seen. I mean, it was so apparent, absolutely apparent exactly what happened there. You had a bunch of money that was maybe not necessarily foreign money, but money that was given by people with strong foreign interests. And yeah, talking about our greatest ally, even though we have no treaty with them. This is the thing. Whenever we go back to the original founding fathers in those documents, it mentions something about not having entangling alliances. And with what's going on right now, there is nothing more entangling than this mess, especially now they're trying to merge in our militaries in a way that, they may stop sending, those, 3 billion annually and plus whatever else. But we're still going to be joined at the hip with them. And there's still going to be a lot of money exchanged and things of that nature due to this disgusting piece of legislation that's been slipped in. And they just denied a vote on it in the House. And that just kind of sums up what this country has become in the government side, in politics. And that's what's so bad is maybe if I hadn't been watching so much politics lately, it would seem more worth celebrating, whenever I'm just in my normal life, encountering the people that are around me. They're good people, man. Every now and then, of course, you're going to come across someone that's trash, that's not a great person, that's a jerk or whatever. I may be that person one day. Like I might be that guy that day, and that's not what I want to be, because obviously, I am a Christian and I do want to try to be the best ambassador that I can, but I always fail because I'm not perfect. But that's not an excuse for failure. It's just understanding that I'm going to come up short. And if we could have that attitude, is knowing that we're not going to add up to some perfect being, but we're still going to do the absolute best we can according to, in my opinion, the Bible, to the standards that are set there. And I'm not talking about going back into Old Testament Deuteronomy and eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. I'm talking about loving one another, and that's something we definitely don't see um, portrayed, especially not in the media, in politics, and in the people that seem to be running our country that are setting these things up that do impact our daily lives. Um, I was just in Denver, Colorado, and it is crazy how much different it is than my small town, Texas. In a lot of ways, it's very similar, but because there's so many people, I want to say this in a way where I'm not trying to be a jerk about it, and I'm definitely not someone who thinks that there should be no immigration. I do believe that there should be because, people deserve that chance if they come in legally. But as soon as you come in illegally, ugh, I'm not against multiple races, multi race. It's the whole whenever we say we're a multicultural country or a multicultural nation. Screw that, dude. I'm not for that. We should have one culture. That's the American culture. And it may be built up of many different people that come from many different places. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be proud of your heritage and be and it's not that you should be ashamed of where you come from or anything like that. But whenever you are trying to take my country, this country, and turn it into your country, then I'm sorry, you need to go to your country because that's where that culture is. Like that's what that culture is. And I get it, you have your little places and you have your spaces, but whenever they're trying to push it onto you and force you into that situation, well, it's like, come on, dude, you came here. Like, do we not have our own culture anymore? And they say, well, the United States is just a big melting pot of immigrants and all this mess. And it's like, okay, in a way, but you cannot deny that we do have our own heritage and our own culture. I don't know. I'm standing there in this aquarium, and I felt like I was in Mexico. I'm just surrounded by it, and it's like, golly, we have people that come over here, and it's not just people of Hispanics backgrounds, but it's all sorts of nations where they come here and refuse to learn our language. Um, I don't believe that we should have a second language. I believe that we should have one language, one official language, that is. There's nothing wrong with being able to speak multiple languages, but whenever the options on the little AI or the robot telephone or whatever your call center is, one for English, two for Spanish, it's like, why do I have to choose? Like it should be English, off the bat. Like it should automatically be English. Or heck, even if it's one for Spanish, two for English, that's even worse because now it's like, anyways, this is just an open rant. I do want to say this, speaking about here in Texas, what I don't understand is why my state is sending so much money to a foreign nation. I don't get this, especially whenever that particular ethnicity group, race group, whatever you want to call them, make up less than a percentage of the population here in this state. I understand that our greatest ally, there's a lot of people in some of these other states that there's a lot, there's a lot more, we'll put it that way, that they make up more than just less than a percentage, you know what I mean? But you have places like San Marcos where if they wanted to receive any state money, they could not stop sending money there. Like they wanted to save what was it, like $4 million or something, and use that for their own roads, but they couldn't because of all that money. Where were we at? Oh yeah, 250th birthday, right? Dude, I supported our president for several years, for a long time. Um, his first term, supported Trump then, and then whenever Biden came in, of course, that was a complete cluster and a half. I did not get the hokey pokey jab. I avoided that. I did have to, like many people, work with a daggum mask on that was just breathing back my own nastiness and germs. That was some BS science. It wasn't even science. It was just somebody's idea. And then, oh, anyway, Fauci deserves to be. He's too old to go to prison. I get that, but dadgum, something has to be done. There has to be some sort of message sent that we're not going to keep putting up with this stuff. But instead, so many people are just laying down like lambs, ready to have their throats slit. And it's like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to just lay here peaceably and not speak and not say anything. You know, it's like I come from a very, well, it's a split family as far as politics go, and so it's always a mess. You know, we do have Democrats and we have Republicans, and then here's me and my little brother, we're libertarians, right? And we just don't necessarily fit in, because it's like, no, I'm cool with some of this stuff on the left. I'm definitely cool. I'm obviously, I lean more right wing than I do left by far. You know, I do believe in strict immigration. I do believe in actual free market capitalism. Like, if your product fails, sorry, it failed. You know, our government, our let's rephrase that. The taxpayers should not have to be funding a failed business. If it fails, it fails. Tough caca. Like, that's just too bad. Your sucks. Make something better. Like, that's how free market capitalism works. And so we have this crony capitalism where we're bailing out banks and all these businesses, and it's like, sorry bro, like, it sucks. If it fails, it fails. Like, and so it's like, I understand sometimes we need to rely on people for that help, but living off of it, continually staying there, that is the problem. Like, these huge welfare situations that we have, where they are I feel like I'm bouncing, I'm rambling, I'm all over the place, but this is just a little touch of some of the things I want to go through. And I'm going to look into some more stuff, and I'm actually going to bring some real documents because I do want to get a little bit more into the Declaration of Independence, into our Bill of Rights. And these rights, they're not privileges given to us by the damn government. Okay, they're not. That's not what the Constitution says. All right. It says that they were given to us by God. Like, God's the one that gives us these rights. All right. The government is just there to help kind of contain, help make sure other people don't trample on your rights, while now it's the government itself that's trampling on our rights. Like, at some point, we've got to say enough is enough. Here in the United States of America, you know how many guns we have, especially here in my state, in Texas. Oh my gosh, I can't own a gun, not legally. Like, I'm sure there's a loophole, and I'm sure I could if I got a lawyer, but due to some mistakes in my past, you know, and some state-sponsored vacations that I didn't want to take, but I did. And in a way, it has made me a better person, not because I went to those places, but because I came through those places and I realized that's not the life I want to live. And so I understand what it's like to be caught up in addiction. And I understand what it's like to be caught up in a life of crime and all those things. And there is a way to the other side of it. Of course, I do believe in Jesus Christ, but more importantly, we can take responsibility for ourselves, quit blaming people. You know, whenever you see an opportunity, take it, don't abuse it, you know. But I want to, in the next video, I want to go a little bit more into the Bill of Rights, because honestly, it's something that I want to go back through myself, and I want to bone up on. I don't know if that's the right term to use these days, but I want to know more. I want to be more educated, because I can't just talk without having something to say that actually is the truth and that is meaningful. We can't always just go by what's on our hearts and minds, although I do believe we should, but we should be educated in the things that we want to talk about. And if we don't have proof to back these things up, then why would people want to listen? So I want to provide some proof, and I want to provide some documentation. And I just want to say, murder is murder. Just because a government decides that they want to murder a bunch of people doesn't make it okay. And if you think the Bible is telling you to go and murder people and take over land, then I'm sorry, you don't understand what the Bible says. Like, that's not a good enough reason, because it's not saying that today. There are things that happened that are over because Christ died on that cross. because of what he did there. You can't use those things in the Old Testament as an excuse anymore. And I understand there's things that are going to happen. If you believe the Bible, then you believe that certain things are going to happen. But it doesn't mean that we should be encouraging mass slaughter. Like, we just got through going through what, 3 years of this mess, and now we're going to go through more. You know, we started this war. I say we, our government, our president, along with some jackasses that like the blue and white flags, the nice little satanic stars on them, the blue and white ones, you know what I'm saying? And so they decide that they want to take over some land and they want to start some shit with someone. It's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. So right now, the goal is to get a Strait open that was open 3 months ago. They want to make sure that this country doesn't build a nuclear bomb, because they weren't building one 3 months ago. It's just mind blowing, and it's so ridiculous. You know, it's like there's no nuke over there. They don't have one. It was against their religious beliefs, and then we murdered. Our government murders the guy that was in charge, that was responsible for maintaining that they didn't get nuclear weapons, that they weren't going to. So here we are, trying to open a strait that was already open, ensuring that they don't have a nuclear device that they didn't have in the first place. Meanwhile, we've dumped billions, probably billions, I know it's millions, but probably in the B's now of dollars into this dadgum thing, murdered hundreds, if not thousands of people. You know, we've already had, what was it, around 15 American soldiers that died. You know, there's both in Iran, Israel, Palestine, Lebanon. You know, now you've got, first it was Gaza, now it's Lebanon. I mean, it's disgusting. And people are like, oh, well, this is God's will. Bull smoke, dude. It ain't. Like, their land's supposed to be given to them by their Messiah, who has already been killed and then he rose again. But they don't believe that. You know, it's like you have these Christians that are joined at the hip with this evil satanic regime. And they believe that it's God's will because they don't know how to read their Bible. Instead, they're relying on people that are influenced by the Zio bots over in someplace else. Anyways, I can ramble on. You know, it started in the 1800s, in the late 1800s, leading up into the 1900s until, what was it, 1917? We had the Balfour Declaration. And we have all these Ashkenazi Jews coming from the Eastern European countries, you know, because they keep getting run out of all these countries for some reason. I don't know why they keep getting run out of all these countries. I don't know, man. Like, if I was kicked out of 109 restaurants at some point or another, I might go, is this my fault? Or maybe, no, it has to be this 109, all these restaurants, they're discriminating against me. It's just no fair. I am a victim here. Here's one right here. Let's see. Where's some scissors? If I had some scissors, we could just do this real quick. I mean, you know why coins have... Anyways, that's a whole different topic for maybe another time. I don't know if I can even discuss it. Anyways, guys, I am Uncle Sam. This is Freedom Ain't Free. Brand new channel. Brand new rants. Something different. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all those fun things. Happy birthday, America. Happy birthday. If we could just get her turned around, but this ship it's going in a rough direction, y'all, but it's no reason to be negative. We can all take responsibility in our lives, and we can make choices that can steer this thing in a little bit better way. If you want to change the world, first change the world around you. You know, influence other people, talk to other people, be genuinely kind and loving to those people around you. And trolls on the internet, who cares? You know, who cares? I've got a saying. I'll leave you with this one, okay? Sometimes, because everyone's online, right? We're all online. You're online right now, right? And you make a comment, and someone makes a dumb comment back, right? I like to use this little strategy. It's called D.N.E. Do not engage. Okay? You don't have to take the bait. Rage bait, click bait. You're not a fish, bro. You're not a fish. You don't have to take the bait. You don't have to, you don't have to do that. It's not a worm. You're not a fish. You don't got to worry about that. Like, just move on. You see some dumb stuff, just keep moving. Just keep moving. You know, if you want to scroll, keep scrolling. If you just don't want to scroll at all, then awesome. Good for you, man. Just keep moving on. Love you guys, and we'll see you next time. This has been Uncle Sam. Freedom ain't free.